Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of the Articulate Fly, and we're back with another On the Water with Dustin White. How you doing, Dustin?
Marvin, I'm doing great. I'm getting ready to go to a friend's house for a low country boil, so I'm pretty jazzed. I'm pretty stoked about that. How are you?
I'm getting there. So what on earth do you low country boil in Central Wyoming?
Yeah. Well, we do have an abundance of crawdads here, so that's pretty good. So we can always find those, but other than that, it's, going to the store and getting some corn and sausage and everything else is pretty traditional. So we're stoked on that.
Yeah, I was a little concerned. I thought maybe you were jamming a pronghorn antelope into a pressure cooker or something.
I don't put it past us Wyomingites. It can be done. There's ingenuity there.
Yeah, dude, if you have enough hot sauce and saltine crackers, you're good to go.
Yeah, won't even know the difference.
So the amazing thing is, like, you've got your dry heat again, right?
Oh yeah, yep. We're cooking back in some pretty hot summer temps. So I think summer's finally kind of setting in again here mid-August. But fishing's been good. Fishing's been solid, and it feels like summer. And so we're actually hopeful it might be enough to bring in a late, albeit but productive hopper season.
Yeah, well, there you go. So let's kind of work from far away to town back in. What are you seeing on the Bighorn?
Yeah, speaking of rising fish, hoppers, we actually are seeing some good dry fly fishing on the Bighorn. Folks that are wanting the nymphs are probably going to be frustrated with the amount of moss that's there, which is pretty typical for this time of year. But the trico hatch has been really, really killer and really effective at getting some fish looking up. So, folks are want to throw hopper to a dry. If you're throwing, a hopper to a trico tag off of it, that's been pretty productive on the Bighorn for us.
There you go. And so what are you seeing when you get closer to town?
As we go, jump over to the North Platte on the mile end of things, fish are still eating stonefly patterns pretty well, mixing up between Goldens and Yellow Sallies. PMDs are also been very, very effective for us. Do want to let folks know that water clarity, though it looks tannic, is actually really, really good clarity. But just coming out of Semino, there's enough of a tint to it that if you were to see it from a distance, you'd think, oh my goodness, it's blown out or it's too stained. But clarity is actually really, really good. Flows are great. The mile has probably been our most productive section of water that we have recently.
Got it. And so that brings us to the reef. What you got there?
Yep. We're keeping our fingers crossed, Marvin, that one of these days we're going to be able to start getting lower. Just below Government Bridge, it looks like it's really, really close. They've dropped the flows to the reef to 1,400 CFS. So, we aren't quite there to be floating through town. That's still pretty dirty. But with the drop in reduction, the particulates should start settling and we could at least start getting a little bit lower stretches than just the top section of the reef. But that said, Yellow Sally patterns, PMDs, and tricos have been really, really effective on the reef. We're even seeing some sporadic heads looking up and some modest success hopper fishing as well. Moss has been a little bit of an issue, but it's only an annoyance. It's not a hindrance for us.
Got it. And so on the hopper front, what's the kind of ideal size and color?
I like mixing it up with having a yellow and a pink hopper, one that's a little more natural, one that's a little more flashy. Size, it is match the hatch. So try to look at what hoppers you see on the water or near the water that day. We're seeing anything from about an inch to about an inch and a half, inch and 3/4 will do the trick. And as we've talked about a lot of times, we like running a tandem rig. So using, two different hoppers together, one that's run off the tag end of the other and, pounding those banks. And I think folks are going to see some success. Still, your best chance is nymphing or looking for heads coming up for that spinner fall of the tricos. That's definitely going to be your most productive. But folks that are, gung ho about getting out there and throwing some hoppers, you're not going to blank on it. You are going to get some eats. But just try to match the same size that you're seeing of those grasshoppers that are near the bank, and you're going to see some success. We've talked about in previous episodes that at least the terminal fly, whether you're only fishing one or if you're going to fish two, the terminal fly, definitely tie that with a non-slip mono loop. That's going to give your hopper more movement. More movement starts to mimic those live hoppers that get eaten a little more, that are trying to spin in the water to kind of get themselves out. So pretty noticeable difference between the two of those in terms of the productive nature of it, how many each you're going to get.
Yeah, got it. And got a question for you from Brenner, and he wanted to get your thoughts on if scud patterns are better as a natural or with a tractor colors, and why.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it would probably depend on the drainage that you are on and the pressure those fish are seeing. For example, at least in my experience on the North Platte, while we have an abundance of the scud patterns on the North Platte, fish don't tend to eat them very much when they're dead. They really key in on the live scuds, and so with that, I'm on the North Platte, I'm going to see more of those natural colors. More likely to get those eats. Jumping over to the Bighorn, I like the attractor colors. I like fishing patterns that have a little bit of flash in it, or that a bright bead head on it. Colored bead head does pretty well there. So two different scenarios and two different drainages. But it really kind of depends. So, Brenner, whatever your fishery is, pump fish's stomachs. And I know that might be controversial or frowned upon by some anglers. I think if you do that responsibly and still take care of the fish, don't do it aggressively, don't empty their whole stomach cavity. But, if you're seeing, a lot of those dead scuds that have already been, clearly eaten, already dead, then yeah, maybe go to that attractor color. If your water clarity is off, if they are, if there's an abundance of food sources there that you need your fly to stand out, yeah, I'm going to probably go something a little flashier. But if it's clear water, if it's a little more pressure, when you pump that stomach, you're seeing that, hey, this is still a scud it's still alive, or that, then I'm going to go more of a natural color there.
Yeah, and just to, Brenner, just so you know, like when scuds die, they generally turn kind of an orangey color, right? And so that's kind of what we're talking about. It's kind of like shrimp cocktail, right?
Yep.
And sometimes that happens right when they get blown through a turbine on a dam, or they, die for other reasons, right?
Yep. So yeah, it just kind of depends on, in the same reason we talk about, hoppers and what size, just a few moments ago. It really does go back to, trying to look at what you see around you, and what your fishery's characteristics, its personality, that it has, the pressure that it has, in, I hate to say it, the disposition of your fish. Some fish are pretty aggressive and eager to take things in a lot of different contexts, a lot of different presentations, and they're not too picky. But pickier fish, you might need to scale back and go a little more natural. It just really depends on your water. But that's the fun thing about fly fishing and getting out there, and the rewarding nature of that problem solving aspect of it, to really try to figure out that on your own. Yes, with the help of others, with the help of friends, talk to your local fly shop and see what they think. But that gives, for me, those little sort of queries that keep you awake at night, that make your head scratch. I love figuring that stuff out, and that's part of what makes this sport so appealing to me, and guiding so appealing to me, is trying to figure those things out. The reward of that is pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, we love questions at the Articulate Fly. You can email them to us. You can DM us on social media. If we use your question, I will send you some Articulate Fly swag. We're in here drawing for a half a day guided trip with Dustin at the end of the season. And Dustin, before I let you go, boil your antelope tonight, you want to let folks know where they can find you and book you and fish with you?
Yeah, I proudly guide for the Ugly Buck here in Casper, Wyoming. You can give us a call at the shop at 307-234-6905. You can also find me on Instagram at Dustin James White.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, folks, you owe it yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Dustin.
Tight lines, Marvin. Thanks so much.